In this lecture, we'll talk about user authentication systems. First, we'll go over the logic on how to log into a page. Then we'll talk about how we customize a page based off of whether someone is logged in or not. Then we'll talk about how we can log out people. Then we'll talk about how we can add some redirection to make the login and log out process a little nicer. And then finally, we'll talk about how we can protect pages from being accessed from users that have not been logged in. In the last lecture, we talked about how we can use sessions to log in, and if you remember, we kind of made a little login functionality here where we could put an ID here and a login name right here, and when we do that, it kind of logs someone in, and we displayed it on the home page. On this links page, it logs someone out. Now we're going to complete this, and we're going to actually have a user that signed up for the site have a form where he could put in his login and his password and log into the site, instead of just put in their credentials up there. So we'll still leave the index page here. We'll use this for debugging so that we could see who's logged in. So we could always check the index page, which is this page right here, to see if someone has logged in or not, so we could see the status. But on the links page, we'll stop logging people out, and on the about page, we'll stop logging people in. Okay. And we'll just leave those two pages alone for now. And we'll go ahead and start a new page that we'll call login.php. And of course, at the beginning, we want to call session start right here. And we probably want to require our functions.php, and eventually we'll require our header and and we'll also print our header with a login page, and we're also going to have the login link highlighted right there. So let's open our functions page right here, and instead of having this be register, we're going to have it be login, and go to the login page there. So you'll see that, and now we have the login page. I still have to finish the login page. We have to require the footer as well, and create a login page. So please log in. Next, we'll go ahead and put a form. We're going to do a post on this. The action, we'll just have it go right back to this page. So this will be a lot like the register and update forms that we already have. Another thing that we'll put here, we'll put register, and then we'll just go sign up. Right here. And then we'll say no account. And then sign up. So let's see how that looks. And now let's start filling out this form. text field. And password field. And let's make sure they know what they're gonna put in here. And now if they don't have an account, they can click sign up. Of course, if they click login, they just come right back to this page, but under a post request. So now we have the login here. Now the sign up, we're not really highlighting any links, so let's go ahead and we'll open the register page. Let's see here. And when we print up the header, we'll highlight the login link. And now we get the login highlighted there. And when we click on login, then we could go right here and we'll put in a login name and our password, and we should log in. So we have to make this multifunctional. Again, this is going to look a lot like the register page. If it's a valid post equals true, then we'll do an if statement. If the request method equals a post, else. Then we'll go valid post is false. And then down here, if it is a valid post, what we're going to do is hopefully here we're going to use the trick that we used at the end of the last lecture on when we talked about sessions. We're going to redirect the user, but just for now, again, this is a hint when you're developing this. You probably don't want to redirect people until you got everything working. So I'm just gonna say echo you are logged in, redirecting. Eventually we'll redirect them, but right now we'll just say, well, you're logged in and you're going to get redirected right here. And up here we'll do our validations, and if it's a valid post, then we'll redirect them. If not, and if you notice, it defaults to valid post. So now when we go on the login page, we see the form, and when we submit the form, after we save it, so the login page, let's see, line 11, forgot the semicolon. Login page, we see that when we submit the form, you're logged in, redirecting. And the validations for this are just looking up that user with his password and seeing if he is a valid user or not. So that's how we can, how we'll log in, do our validations. So our validations on the register page and the update page, we're making sure that they had the right login, or had a login name long enough and their passwords matched. On this page, we are going to make sure that their username and password are valid, and that's our validation for here. So we also want to connect to the database. We need to connect to the database to be able to find the user, and then we'll go ahead and create a SQL query equals select star from user users where login is equal to. Now this is really important. We'll go ahead and leave it at where. It's really important to make sure that we don't get open ourselves up for a SQL injection attack right here. This is our login page. We really want to make sure this is secure and making sure that we're only going to log in people. We want to really check these SQL queries and make sure that we don't get a SQL injection attack. So to prevent against that, we have to put parentheses around things. So where the login, or not parentheses, but quote marks. So where the login equals, and so let's see how that looks right now. We'll go ahead and echo it out. Okay, and now we'll go back to the form. We'll try to log in Fred. And now we get login equal to Fred. So what I did is I forgot to concatenate. I just changed the string. This dot period concatenates this string and this string together. Let's go ahead and also put a new line at the end of this, so that we can see it well. And now we get select star from users where login equals Fred. I'll put an extra space here. Now there's a couple ways that we can do this. We can pull out their hashed password and make sure that the password that they sent, their hash stuff, is equal to it, or we can just have the database only find users with the right username password. And that's what I'm going to do. So we'll go ahead and we'll get the login or the password out. And if you remember back to the register page, and I'll bring it up here in a moment, but we concatenated it in with the login. That way each user, if they have the same passwords, the hash passwords will be a little bit different. So let's save that. Let's open the register page, make sure that we got the right thing here. See how we hashed the passwords, the password, and then we concatenated a colon onto it, and then we concatenated on this login value right here. So I'm doing the exact same thing right there. Now on my login page right here, it's the exact same thing. So we'll go ahead and go and concatenate on hashed and we could just put the hashed password right in this string right here. And so now we'll see where that leads us right here. So now we have select star from users where login equals Fred and the hash password equals this right here. So now we have our SQL query, and now it's time to run it. Okay, so a couple of things might happen here, and the first thing that might happen is there might be some error connecting to our database or something like that. So then that means that result will be false. So this means something happened with our database and we didn't connect. So we'll just go echo out our MySQL error. And we'll just exit this PHP script right here, and that way we won't have to worry about it, but then we'll just see the MySQL error if something went wrong. Now the other thing that can happen is, well, the other two things that can happen is, one, it could have been a valid username and password, and so then we'd want to log in the user. Or the other thing is, if it's not a valid username and password, the query will work, it just will return 0 rows. So if the number of rows does not equal 1, and I do this a little more protective, so maybe if somehow they did get a SQL injection error and we're able to select out more than one user, then it wouldn't be just one user coming out. It would be a whole bunch, and then so this will catch that, and it just won't log them in. It will just think that it didn't find it. So this is if it returned 0 or if it returned anything more than 1. Hopefully anything more than 1 won't happen, but if it returns 0 or anything more than 1, then we know that they didn't have a right username password. So valid post equals false, and then we can print out errors and highlight the fields as we go. So we'll just call it a login error equals true, and I'm just going to print down a little message here. If there's a login error and if there's a login error, then we'll just go ahead and again, all the styling should go in your CSS sheets, but I'm just going to put it here. And now we'll go ahead and say incorrect user name or login name. Okay, and so that's if we don't get that. And then else right here, this means that we did find a valid user. So let's go ahead and get the user out from the results. And if I spell fetch right, there we go. It turns red. So if that did return 1 row, we'll go ahead and get the user out, and now we can log in the user into our session. So remember, it's the user ID equals user ID. Remember, what this does is it turns user into an associative array with the column names of the database as the keys, and the values that are stored in there as the values. So this is an associative array. So the ID will pull out their database ID right there. Login equals $user. Login. And of course we can also grab the login from the post data, or what they filled in the form, what we used to look up the person right there. And when this all works, we should see this right here. So let's see what happens now. First of all, I'll goof on Fred's password. So now we see that we have a database error. and this gets echoed out right here, and it's saying that my hashed password isn't spelled right. So now we'll retry this, and now we see the incorrect login password right here. It's because I goofed on his password. So now we'll go back to the form, and now we'll go ahead and try to get it right, if I remember it right. And now we see our SQL statement, and now it says you are logged in, redirecting. Okay, so we'll go back and we'll go to the home, and if you see, Fred has been logged in to our site. Okay, so let's review what happened. The first time I messed on the password, so the SQL query returned 0 rows, and that led me into this if statement right here, and which, since I turned valid post to false and I turned login error to true, what that did is it caused me to jump over this redirect that we still haven't done yet and print out the registration form. And when Fred or when we got Fred's password right, then we did get 1 row back, so that jumped us into here. We got the user that they logged in out, and we went ahead and set some session variables to log in this user right here. And then we'll open up this index page right here, and then we print out these session variables. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and do a little bit of work to clean up this. We're going to open the functions page right here, and it's actually a really smart idea to keep your login logic all in one area within your website, or close to each other. That means what it means to be logged in, what it means to be logged out, and how you log in and how you log out. So I'm going to create some 3 functions: a function that will log a user in, a function that will log a user out, and then a function that will tell you whether a user is logged in or not. So the first function will be login. And we'll go ahead and take the user ID and the login as parameters, and we'll go ahead and set the session variables right here. Now we could set more session variables, maybe if you want to store a name, that way you can present that person's name on the page without having to look them up in the database or something like that. You can definitely store more variables besides just a user ID and a login. But now this is the function that means to see if we're logged in. Now let's go ahead and put the logout function right here. And actually we don't need any parameters for this one, and we'll unset these 2 variables right here. And no login. Now, since the reason why I've done this is now these 2 functions are right next to each other. They're small. We can look at them really quick. And if we were going to change what it means to be logged in, then we know that we need to change what it means to be logged out. We see these all in one area. If we didn't do this, we'd have this stuff happening on one page, this stuff happening on another page, and then it might be harder to keep them in sync. So maybe if I decide to name this ID instead, right here, then I can change both of them at the same time. So that's why I want to keep these functions together. And again, our login logic, this is where the security of our site is going to come, you don't really have room to make have some unknown bugs in there. So it's really nice to keep these two functions right next to each other, along with the third function. And go is logged in right there, and we could go if is set so we can do if the user ID has been set, then they're logged in. If not, they're logged out. And so this function right here is again right next to our other two login functions. So this helps us keep these things, all our login logic, right next to each other. So now that we have those functions, let's go back to our login page right here, and instead of setting this right here, what we need to do is we need to call the login function, pass the user ID, and then pass in the login right here. So we'll call this function the login, pass in the user ID and the login right there, and that'll tell us whether this person has been logged in or not. So and let's go back to the index page right here, and maybe we only want to print these out if somebody's been logged in. So now we'll go if is logged in, call that function. This will tell us if someone's been logged in or not. And now we'll just print that out if they've been logged in or not. So now let's see if this is working. Now I think Fred's still logged in, so we still see this information right here. We need to log Fred out, and we haven't created a way to log him out yet. But let's go ahead and try logging in foobar. And let's see, or maybe we'll try logging in Bob. I must have forgotten foobar's password. And maybe I'm not spelling Bob right, or capitalizing him right. And so now Bob's been logged in, and when we go to the home page, now we see that Bob is logged in instead, but we still need a logout page. And in fact, this right here is a little misleading. I mean, we're already logged in. Why are we seeing this login button right here? So let's go back to our functions page where we're printing that login out. So at our functions page, right here is where we're printing the login out, right? So we might want to go if they are logged in, if a user is logged in, then we want to do one thing else. Right here, we want to give them a login link. So here we really want to give them a logout link right here. So let me put quotes marks around this. So now when we refresh this page, now we got a logout button. And in fact, we can even maybe print out their login name here instead of logout. We'll still want a logout link right there, so we could go ahead and go nav links. And we still haven't created the page, but now we have a link to the page, and instead of that, we'll go ahead and echo out the login name. So now on every page that we see, I missed this. Let's see here. 9:40 here. The function is called nav link, not nav links. So now we have a logout link right there. So we'll see the login name right here, and then a logout link. Maybe I'll maybe that isn't the best place to print out who's logged in or logged out. So now we'll have the logout link, and now we'll open up our header page, and let's see here. Right here we print up our nav bar, and maybe we'll just go welcome. Go if is logged in, and now we can go welcome. So now misspelled this, miscapitalized it, and now we can have welcome Bob on the top of each one of our pages. So for logout, we haven't created logout yet. Now we're always in the logout link because Bob's been logged in. So let's go ahead and create a logout page. Call this logout.php. And we'll require our functions right here. And now we'll call logout. And now we'll redirect, or eventually we'll redirect. And so now we call that logout, and now let's refresh these pages, and Bob's still logged in. So let's go ahead and look at our logout function. Actually, I think the problem here is we're not calling session start at the beginning. Yeah, remember we need to call this at the beginning of every page. But now we could see that no one is logged in, and up here we have the login button, and so now we can log in another user. We still have to redirect users, but now Fred is logged in and we can see his information. So now you see the importance of calling session start, because since I didn't call session start when I called logout, my session hadn't been loaded and I wasn't erasing anything out of my sessions. So it is really important to call session start on every page. If we fail to call session start on a page, like we're doing on this page right here, if you notice it says log in, but back here Fred's logged in. That's because on the member page, the page that shows one member, we're not calling session start. We're also not calling session start on update information. So let's go ahead and open those. Gotta call session on session start on every page. So now that we call members and Bob, we're looking at the profile of Bob, but now we see that Fred is logged in still, and we'll open the update page. This is the one that updates a member, and at the very top we'll call the session start again. And so now on this page we still see that Fred is logged in, and we still have the logout link. So we'll go ahead and, instead of saying that we're going to redirect the user, we'll go ahead and redirect the user. So we'll use that flash message that we set up in our last lecture to say you are logged out, and then we'll go header location and go index.php. The index page is the home page, so when someone logs out, they should just get redirected to the home page and see the message you were logged out. Now they can go to other pages right there. And also on the login page here, go back to the login page right here. Instead of saying you're logged in redirecting, let's go ahead and instead of printing this out, let's actually redirect them. Now notice how I waited to do this until I was sure everything is working the way that I want it to. Because trying to debug and dealing with redirections are really hard. So we should only redirect if we know that everything is working. So we'll go ahead and set that. And here we'll just send them, after they log in, we'll just send them to the members. The members page. So now let's try that. And so log in, Fred will log in again. And now we're at the members page and it says you are logged in, and when it goes to other pages, it's not. The message disappears. So that flash message is really helpful, especially when we do these redirects. So the last thing that we'll talk about in this lecture is, we got users logging in and logging out, but it doesn't do much good to create an account and log in unless that's going to gain you some sort of privileges on the web page. So maybe this members link, this members section right here, both the members page, and the individual page, and of course update and delete as well. Maybe you want to protect those from users that haven't been logged in. I won't do all of the pages. I'll just block out the members page, and then maybe the delete and the update page. I'll block out those really quick. But we really don't want, if we want this site to be a normal site, we probably want logged in users to have some sort of privilege once they logged in, so they could see more of our website than people who haven't logged in. So let's bring up the members page right here. And right here, we want to protect this page. So after we call session start, we can go if they're not, and remember we have this function is logged in. So if is logged in returns false, then now we want to redirect the user. And I'm just going to echo out redirecting. Now let's go ahead and log out of our website, and now is logged in. I forgot to require the functions right here, so let's require the functions before, and now we see redirecting. But another problem is we see the rest of this page. So even if we are redirecting, we can redirect the user, and in fact, let's put that in here. We will redirect the users right here, and so we shouldn't be able to see this. So we see that we've been put back to this home page, but the problem is we're still generating this page. And we'll go back now that I'll comment out the redirect. We go back. So we're redirecting, but we're still finishing that page. So we finish the page for the web browser and then tell them to go somewhere else. So the person doesn't see it, but the browser does receive all of this right here. So it's really important to exit our script right here so we don't continue on and do stuff. That's really important for the delete page, because if we protecting somebody from deleting someone out, and we go ahead and delete them out and then redirect them afterwards, the action will be done whether we redirect them or not. So instead, we'll go ahead and now we'll redirect them, and here we'll go ahead and create a flash message saying invalid request. I like putting invalid requests. I don't like to tell them, hey, you're trying to access something you're not supposed to. So that way, I'll put invalid requests, and that way they think something's broken, not that they don't have permission to do something. So, but the error message you want to put is completely up to you. Put that there and save. And now we get back to the home page with invalid request using that flash message. Okay, so invalid request goes right back to the home page. Well, you might wonder why we're giving them the link to this members section if they don't have permission to do it. So we'll go ahead, put some more logic in here, and now the members link won't show up if they haven't logged in, but now once they log in, we see you're logged in. So protect one more page. The page I'll protect, maybe the most important one, will be the delete page. So I'll leave the rest of the protections, the protection of this page and this page, up to the user to figure out, but I'm going to protect the delete page right there. And by the way, now that they don't have the link, at least they won't click on it, but if you still need to protect it through the redirect, because they might try to do this. And actually, something else that you can do right here on the members page, instead of, one thing that you can do is redirect them to the login page instead of the home page, and then you could say please log in. And this is helpful if somebody receives a link and an email saying, hey, look at this, and they know they need to log in. If they click on that link and they go right to the members page, you get redirected to the login page. It says, hey, please log in, or maybe you need to log in to view this page. That's another message that you can give them. So if they click on a link in an email to see this page and they have an account, they'll see you need to log in to view this page, and then they can log in, and now they can view the page right there. So that's another nice error message that you can do. Let's go ahead and protect the delete page. And so right here, if not is logged in here, then we can go, now it's very important to exit, or else we'll go ahead and continue to connect to the database and delete the user out and then redirect the user. It's really important to exit on this page. index.php, and then set a flash message. Invalid request. There. So now I log out. I'm able to see a member, PHP. So I'm able to see Bob because I haven't done this, but if I try to delete him out, I'm not logged in, and I get put to the home page saying invalid request. So I'll leave all the rest of the protection up to you. There's a couple more things that you can do. I'll just describe a few of them briefly. One thing that you can do is you can add a column into your users table called admin, and you can set it to default to not be an admin, and then you can set one user to be an admin, and then you can create another, then you can, when you log in the person, you can store their admin status in here, create another function is admin, and then you can give admins more privileges than other users. One example where you might do this. Now we're logged in as Fred, but you might not want to let people update somebody else's information. So you can just say, you can just see, well, if their session, if their user ID right here isn't equal to the ID of the person they're editing, you can redirect them. But then you can also have an isAdmin function, and then you can say, well, if their user ID does not equal to the user ID stored in the session, or if they're not an if they're not an admin, so if they're not editing themselves and they're not an admin, redirect them. But if they're not editing them themselves and they are an admin, you could go ahead and let them edit themselves. And again, you would have to update that. You'd have to do that both on the processing of the form and the presentation of the form. You don't want to just do it on the presentation of the form, because then they might be able to create their own form and submit it to your processing page and then update somebody else. So if as you're working on your final project, I suggest if you have any questions that you come ask me. You will be required to create an admin user who has more privileges than other users, and you'll have to restrict the updating so that you can only update yourself, and an admin can update other people. So users should only be able to update themselves, except for admins can update everybody. And so there's lots more stuff that you can do with these sessions, but I'll leave the rest of the work up to you as an exercise